Lanez has continued to make a fool of himself in California court. Now, let me be fair. And by fair, I mean, let me drag this mofo. I understand why he's doing it. He's finally catching up with the consequences of his actions. I get the whole rap music industry thinks there should be no consequences to any actions, whether you are a DV person for shooting at a woman, for shooting in a woman's diaper. I get it, right? There should never be any consequences. Everybody should just shut up. Women are only good for one thing, maybe two, okay? I get it. But what is going on in court right now is actually low-key funny. Let me give y'all the update because Tory. Listen to what Tory said, right? First of all, for everybody that's on the free Tory Lanez train, this is all I want to say. Tory has never been the gentleman. All his ex-girlfriend, well, I don't want to say all, but a lot of them went public and said they were being abused, okay? Tory Lanez, you can think he's talented, you cannot think he's talented. One thing we can all agree on is he gets handsy. Okay, y'all know I will never have respect for a man that gets handsy. But get this, right? Do y'all remember when Tory Lanez, one of his exes, said, I've been dealing with physical, verbal, and emotional abuse for the past 9 months from someone most of you look up to and even idolize, Tory Lanez? Now, when she said most of y'all look up to, I said, oh yeah, she's definitely abused because most look up to? Quarantine radio ain't hit that hard. Most? Change that to some. Edit it down to a few. Okay, but this is a serious tweet she put, so let's put this in there. She said, I've been quiet about this whole situation because I felt the need to protect him, knowing what he's gone through and not having any real support. As we saw from the Diddy trial and even this Tory, stop protecting these mofos. Stop protecting these mofos. Don't show them any mercy, because at the end of the day, you're going to be the one to pay for all their future sins. She went on to say, I've done nothing to this man but showed him genuine love and support. Of course, they always pick the ones that do that. Never be his piece. Even when he constantly humiliated me and embarrassed me in public. I never once disrespected him. You should have. Until today when he pulled at my house uninvited for the second day in a row. So that's stalking to me. I've moved on and he's refused to accept it. If I can't have you, no other ninja can. And at this point, I feel like my life is at risk. Never in my life have I felt so scared. As I type this, tears are running down my face because I know I'm not the only one going through this. Now, this woman did not sue Tory Lanez. She ain't asked for money, but she tweeted, tears running down her face, that she was scared for her life. And as you can expect, it was crickets from the music community. But let's continue, right? It took a lot for me to make this public. I know a lot of women have lost their lives because they simply didn't speak up, and I refuse to be a victim. Today, I've decided to speak up about the situation that is threatening me, as I don't know what he's thinking, and I don't know what to expect. Anyway, then all of a sudden, okay, Tory's team was working to make those allegations. So you already know I was like, eh. But remember when Megan first kicked this off and she said, so since you hoes are worried about it, this is Megan. Yes, this ninja Tory shot me. You shot me. And you got your publicists and your people going to these blogs lying and ish. Stop lying, okay? Now, if you guys don't know, the reason why Thee Stallion actually was protecting Tory Lanez at first, right? Because she fell for you gotta protect the men. They're like they're overgrown babies and not men that should be standing tall in front of us, protecting us as black women. But I digress, right? She fell for it. But then Tory's team, I believe, was so paranoid that Megan was going to talk that they went on a whole smear campaign against her, to the point of when Megan was at the lowest, it messed with her mind. Now, when it got to court, to me, it was pretty open and shut case. But Tory's team decided to go with this stupid narrative of it wasn't me, because they wanted us to believe that it was Kelsey, whatever Megan's ex-best friend was. But again, going back to that tweet, Tory Lanez is not a gentleman. So riddle me this, Batman. Kelsey did it, but you won't say she did it because what? No snitching, you're a gentleman. You took a bid for a girl when you was beating up ex-girlfriends and stalking them? I just don't think that Tory Lanez is that. And I do believe that if it was Kelsey that shot him, shot Megan, I do believe that he would have said that instead of leaving it open. But listen what he tried to get out of. I know y'all heard, but we're going to have to laugh at what he actually tried to do. He said that the trial was riddled with errors and he was treated very, very, very unfairly. Now, for you guys don't know that when you are in an appeal, it is a very high standard to meet. Not only must you prove that there was evidence that wasn't presented in court, new evidence, evidence that was suppressed, evidence that wasn't submitted. That's one. You then must submit that you then must prove to a reasonable juror, right? Or a reasonable person that would have to conclude that the jury would have found you not guilty based off that evidence. It's a very, very high margin to prove, but Tory's doing Tory. Anyway, he said it was riddled with errors and that prosecutors misled the jury about DNA evidence. They said in a crucial hearing on Monday, attorney Laura L. Cepero told a panel of 5 judges that Tory's legal team has an unwavering belief that he's innocent in the 2020 shooting and that he did not receive a fair trial when he was convicted in 2022. To which I say, why don't you just use Mark Agnifilio's dumb shit? This was a modern day love story. Among other issues raised, Cepero told the appeals court that prosecutors had misconstrued DNA evidence during closing statements to the jury. And that test showed that there was only a 1 in a million chance that Lanez's DNA was on the gun used in the shooting. They said it was actually marginally more likely that another member of the African American population touched this gun over Mr. Peterson. She told the appeals court, if our jury had heard that Mr. Peterson, maybe 1 in a million, touched the gun, I believe that would have been enough to tip the scale and show reasonable doubt. Okay. Can I say this? Do you know who would have been amazing to bring this up? Do you know who would have been amazing to bring this up? Tory's lawyers. Tory's lawyers, this would have been amazing for them to bring it up first. Exactly. Tory's lawyers could have pointed out in court the DNA evidence doesn't match. As a matter of fact, that was brought up in court. And they said it is inconclusive whether it was Tory's or not. It was his lawyer's responsibility to say, hey, it could be any one of the black people we are talking to, looking at, or whatever. But again, why don't you just say it was Kelsey, since that is, again, I don't think it was her, but I think that was one of the dumb theories that Tory's camp was going through. What else was brought up, right? The prosecutors argued that the evidence against Tory had clearly been strong enough to convict him, including 3 instances in which he appeared to have tactfully admitted that he pulled the bang bang, and he was clearly accepting responsibility for something very big. When did that happen? Y'all, I will say one thing. Whoever Tory's lawyer is, they need to tell him, stay off of the prison phones. This man has confessed to almost everything outside of murking JFK on those prison lines that are clearly monitored. Anyway, right? Tory and his supporters still maintain his innocence. Oh, get this. At the hearing, in addition to the arguments about DNA, his lawyer said that Tory's lawyers had not been allowed to properly cross-examine Kelsey Harris after jurors heard a tape in which he pinned the blame on Tory, violating his constitutional right to confront a key witness. She also claimed that prosecutors misled jurors by claiming in opening statements that Justin Edison, a former bodyguard to Megan, was going to testify against Tory, something that never actually took place. How didn't they get a chance to properly cross-examine her? She was on the stand. You could have called her as a witness you chose not to call her as a witness. Even if you thought when the prosecutor had her up on the stand that you couldn't get a fair bite at her, why didn't you call her as a witness? And you could have had her up there all day and night, but you ain't want the prosecutors to get a fair, like another bite at the apple. On top of that, let's get into this, right? A key witness. Why are you calling her a key witness? I thought the thing was that it was her gun. There was only 3 people in the car. We know it wasn't Megan's gun. We know it wasn't the driver's bang bang. Who else could it have been? Kelsey said it's not hers. Anyway, they also made a big deal saying that the bodyguard said that he was going to testify against Tory, something that never actually took place. We already know from Gina Hahn and her frustrating self that you can drop out and not testify with prosecutors. I will say one thing, not so much to Gina because she is a victim, even though she is so frustrating, but prosecutors really need to get on top of people just thinking they just don't have to testify. Anyway, they said that the argument, so the prosecution said that the arguments from Tory's lawyers have been waived because they had not been raised at trial. And the other ones just didn't make sense. Again, where are we at? They said Tory has a 19% chance of getting... Sorry, they said Tory has a 19% chance of actually getting away with this. I think the odds are actually a lot lower because only 19% of appeals are accepted. Tory seems to be arguing that his lawyers did a piss poor job of defending him. And let me say this, I think he's right. They did. They did a horrible job. But yet and still, they had the evidence they had. 2, those were the lawyers you had hired. 3, and this is the one thing that I think a lot of people miss in this appeal. Having bad lawyers is not enough for an appeal. It's just not. Not questioning a witness good enough is not enough for appeal. As a matter of fact, they knew, and the jurors knew, that there was no conclusive evidence that Tory's DNA was on the bang bang, and they still convicted him off of the circumstantial evidence. Okay? Tory is not getting out. But I'll tell you one thing that Tory, listen, I'll tell you one thing that Tory, and let me just be honest, I'll tell you one thing that Tory actually needs to look out for, and it behooves me to give this man any advice. Tory, why don't you stop spending your money on lawyers? Because at this point, they seem like they are just taking advantage of you. I'll bet you one thing, Tory is probably trying to get Brian Still, Mark Agnafilio, Nicole Westmoreland, and Xavier Donaldson and Shapiro on his team, but I don't think he can afford them right now, and they are not taking a useless case. Again, Tory should have just apologized to Megan when he saw Alex Sparrow was getting on this case, and he didn't, and now he is in jail, and these lawyers are bleeding him dry. You guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Do y'all think that Tory is innocent? Please tell me y'all don't think this man is innocent. Do y'all think that Kelsey did it? Because if you did, you guys need to start a true crime channel. And I don't know. Again, let me know what y'all think in the comments. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.